What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, it's great to have you. Today, we will tackle one of the most burning questions in everyone's mind. Will rates come down in 2024? So grab a coffee, sit back. We're going to do a deep dive into this. And if you find value in this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're going to answer a question that everybody keeps asking. It's almost nauseating in our industry. The speculation around rates dropping in 2024 has been rampant, and with all the noise out there, it can be hard to sift fact from fiction. So in today's session, we're going to actually clear this up, and we're going to look at the possibility of rates descending, the three major conditions which could drive this change. And as always, I'm going to give my prediction on what I think the market's going to do. So without further ado, let's discuss the big three. Number one, recession. So this term might bring back some memories from the 2008 housing collapse, but let's understand the intricacies. Recessions typically signal falling mortgage rates, and while it sounds counterintuitive, home prices might actually rise during those periods. The reason? During economic downturns, the feds lower the rates in a way to reboot the economy. In fact, even according to Investopedia, during recessions, historically rates come down, which in turn, guess what, leads to demand rising. So what happened when demands rise? Well, supply and demand shows that when demand rises and supply begins to drop, prices begin to rise. But we're not here to talk about rising prices. We're here to talk about if rates are going to come down in 2024. And the answer is, if the Fed continues to raise interest rates, that very well could push us into a recession. And in turn, we could see interest rates come down. The second is black swan events. So this term is a little bit scary, and it is because this is something similar to COVID or a world war, big things that can shake our global economy to its core. During these times, government entities might intervene to stabilize the economy. Remember the massive uptick in refinances and purchases due to COVID? Perfect example is how when COVID happened, the government came in and started buying mortgage-backed securities, which are just basically a bunch of mortgages piled up in one little box. Easiest way to describe a mortgage-backed security is think of a cardboard box and there's a bunch of dominoes in there and every domino is a mortgage. A mortgage-backed security is a bunch of dominoes in that box and then the investor sells off that whole box. Well, the government was coming in and buying those boxes, artificially making rates way lower than they were, which caused the housing market to go crazy. Everybody was buying and refinancing, which caused the problems that we have now with inventory. The reason why is because you have a lot of homeowners that are sitting in 2 to 3% rates. And why would they move from a 2 to 3% rate to an 8% rate? The payment difference is substantial. If you were to buy a $400,000 home at 2% and get a rate in today's market, it would almost be $1,300 a month higher now. So understanding the black swan event requires a little bit of economic foresight. When the global economy faces uncertainty, be it a pandemic or geopolitical conflicts, there are ripples that can happen in the mortgage sector as well. Rates can plummet, but they can also skyrocket. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen in the case of a black swan event. Perfect example is if we get involved in the Israel versus Palestinian war, the outcome depends on numerous variables, many of which are beyond a common investor's control. And lastly, elections. We have all heard it. I keep hearing it in my industry. Well, elections are right around the corner, so rates are going to change. But let's debunk that myth. Data suggests that the Federal Reserve remains indifferent to political seasons. For instance, did you know that 32% of the last 60 rate hikes occurred during an election year, which is pretty surprising. So when making decisions based on election years, always refer to the historical data. As they say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I actually searched for this online for a good while, looking for some sort of information or documentation showing that rates would go down during the elections, and I literally couldn't find anything. Even if you Google, do rates come down during elections, all you get is a bunch of mortgage lenders giving their take on it, aka look at me giving you my take on it as a mortgage lender, which I think is kind of funny. But overall, the election and the Fed are separate. The Fed doesn't want to have an effect on the election. They don't want to create a positive or negative influence in the decision of the people. Now, quick break, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm growing my channel. I really appreciate you watching my videos. I'm excited to put out more free content providing value on real estate, investing, mortgages, finances, and more. let's get back into this video. So guys, to wrap up, here are my predictions and conclusions. Now, my personal take is 2024 might see some minor rate adjustments, maybe a slight reduction, but the reality is predicting exact rates is near impossible. Just remember that many leading market experts did not get the rate predictions right at all in 2023. Right now, we're in a different time. We're in a different market, and the likelihood that rates are going to come down are pretty good, but there's absolutely no guarantees. I remember in 2022 when everyone was saying the rates were going to come down in the next 12 months or the next 6 months. Most of this, unfortunately, was just wishful thinking by people in the industry. My take on it is it actually wouldn't be good if rates came down right now. We need inventory to come back. Inventory is a massive problem, which led to buyers paying $50,000, $60,000 over asking price in 21, and I'd prefer not to see that again. Also, home prices were appreciating at a 15% rate, which is ridiculous, and it was completely crushing the middle class. And it's almost better that homes are appreciating at a 3 to 4% rate, which is more of a natural rate for homes to appreciate. So what does that mean? Instead of buying a home that's $400,000 going up to $460,000 in 1 year, that same home may only go up to $416,000, which is a much healthier rate of appreciation because incomes are not rising fast enough to keep up with a 15% appreciation. So these are my predictions and conclusions. Wrapping up, rates could potentially come down. But as discussed, there are a few different factors that could cause this to happen, and none of us really know. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I truly hope this was helpful for you. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe.